Hello and thank you so much for joining me for some Saturday night crafting. I'm sorry you missed last Saturday night. We were away in Anglesey on holiday and we had such an amazing time. It was so much fun, but we got back on Saturday quite late and we were absolutely shattered. Anglesey is about a 4.5 hour drive from our house, but it's got mountains, it's got beach, it's got trees. It's amazing. It kind of hits all the boxes for all of us. And we got to go with all of my husband's family. We had his brother and his family visiting from Singapore. So we just had the most wonderful time. And I can highly recommend, if you're looking for a holiday home in Anglesey, then check out Photocottages in Anglesey. They were fantastic. There's 2 homes you can rent. We rented both and we loved it. We're actually going to go back again at the end of this month. So be prepared. I may not have a video because I'll be there again, really enjoying it. Now tonight's video, we're going to dive straight into crafting. I wanted to use these new paints. I got gifted these Paul Rubens, and I know these have been making their way around. The Frugal Crafter, which has a massive YouTube following, has been playing with these as well. And so I was really excited when they asked if I would like to try them because I had already seen that they're quite good, but they are more or less a fraction of the price of mainstream kind of high quality branded paints. So I was really excited to try them out and see how they go. And so this is my first time using them in this video. So I pulled them out the package and then I got all the little wrappers off. If you didn't know before, you can actually pull the paint trays out of these kind of paint trays. I didn't know this for the longest time, but it makes it so much easier to paint with and not have that whole big flappy bit on the paint tray. I don't know what it's called. I am not an artist. I don't use paints in an artistic way. I don't know how to use them as an artist or grade them as an artist, but I use them in crafting and I love doing watercolor backgrounds and I love having highly pigmented inks. Now these were amazing. I spritzed them with water and all I did was dab my paintbrush in and that pigment and ink came up really quick. So as a crafter, these are very, very, very nice. I'm really impressed with them. I didn't have to rub at all. You know how sometimes you get some paints, you get watercolor paints, and you got to rub them? Oh, by the way, look at the paper. How shiny is that? I don't know why the watercolor sort of tester sheets are shiny, but they're amazing. But anyways, these watercolors I'm impressed with. Not gonna lie, I really liked them. And you'll see them more in action in just a second. So I've got myself some watercolor cards and I've also got this glossy white card, which is from Rainbow Card in the UK. And it's also the same place I get my holographic card from. So I'll link everything I used today down below. I'll link Photocottages if you're in the UK and you want to check out a nice holiday home in the UK as well. I'll link that for you. I'm not making anything from those companies, but I like to share when I find something I really like. So I'll put them down below for you. I've got my new VEVOR die cutting machine. This was also gifted to me, but I've been playing with it and trying it. And so far it's great. It's just like the Big Shot. So I'm going to go ahead and put my die cut, which is a watercolor piece of cardstock. And I've die cut it with the circle dies with the stitching around it. I'm going to put that on my stamp platform and use my Woodware Snowflake stamps and then the sentiment from a Trinity stamp set, just because I like that sentiment. Now my original idea was to kind of do a kind of gradual look to this little circle. So I wanted a lot of the stamps on the right hand side and the plan was to have the ink on the right hand side and just kind of gradually flow it into being cream colored on the left. It didn't quite go to plan, but never mind. I had fun anyways, and I do find, I do change up the method in a minute as well. So I've got clear gloss embossing powder. So a lot of people, when you kind of start out with embossing powder, you probably end up buying a clear and maybe a white, or just a clear. And the clear is great because it maintains the color of the cardstock below. So my watercolor card is slightly off-white. It's more like a vanilla. So stamping with clear means that it kind of keeps that color underneath it showing through. And my background cardstock for my card panel is also a vanilla. So it kind of blends all nicely together. The first thing I'm doing is wetting my cardstock. Now normally I spray the back and I spray the front, but with this I'm not going to because I've done it in clear. I don't want any of the color to accidentally go onto my desk and then seep through from underneath. I want to keep that clear embossing clear. So if you've ever done emboss resist, that's where you emboss with clear embossing ink or a different color of embossing powder. And then you go ahead and apply color over the top and then the embossing resists that color. And that's kind of what we're doing here with the watercolor paints and getting a really nice kind of watercolor wash. Now you can see little marks on my paint tray there. I marked where I wanted to use the colors because they're so hard to see once they're in the tray. I used the little cheat sheet that I created, my little sample sheet, and then I marked the tray with a little pen to know which colors I wanted to use to create this fun background. Now originally I was going for a really light kind of watercolor wash, and then this pigment is just so intense that I thought, no, actually I really want to go for the dark colors. So I'm going in again with some more ink and kind of applying it just as it is. I'm not even saturating it. I'm not rubbing the ink very much. I'm just kind of adding on that darker color. And you can see how pigmented this is. When I lift this up and try and clean my desk mat, it kind of stains it a bit. But how gorgeous is this? So I did a second panel, and this time I'm not going heavy-handed. I'm just not watering it down. I was trying to water it down at first. And the colors blend so beautifully together. The pigment is really strong. It's gorgeous. So here's my desk. It's a hot mess. I wanted to replace this mat anyways, but it has permanently stained my sort of desk mat. It's a mat that I take on and off for filming. So I will replace it, but I'm impressed with the pigment. It's really proper nice. So for this panel, I'm not heat embossing first. I am spritzing the back and then spritzing the front. And then I'm kind of adding water. I do add quite a lot of water, but I'm tapping my paintbrush into the paints and then kind of tapping it and dabbing it onto the front of that little circle panel. And I'm getting such a gorgeous sort of watercolor flowy look. And I'm just playing and having fun. This is the nicest thing about watercolors is you don't have to overthink it. You can just play with it. So this is after I left it to dry for a little while. I've got this gorgeous little watercolor background. And for this one, I'm going to come in with the opaque vanilla on the top, not a white. Because my cardstock that I'm using is more of a vanilla color, I wanted to use a kind of off-white rather than a bright white. Now I positioned all my stamps already, and I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing I did the first time. I'm going to stamp with some embossing ink, and then I'm going to heat emboss with my vanilla powder over the top of that. And that kind of pops off a lot more. So it's giving you the same sort of look without the emboss resist. So it's a bit cleaner and a bit sharper. So it depends what look you like more, whether you like the clear embossing on the left or whether you like the embossing on the top on the right. And it depends what supplies you have. If you've only got one kind of embossing powder, then just work with that. So I went ahead and created my background, which I'm using an embossing folder from Lisa Horton Crafts, and it's a Christmassy themed one. And by the way, I missed Christmas in July, which every other crafter out there did, because I was away on holiday and had kids stuff, and it was too hectic. So now I'm catching up. I'm doing Christmas in August. So I hope you don't mind, but I thought I would get ahead of the game, make sure I get started on my Christmas cards. That's why everything tonight is Christmas themed. So I'm sticking down my background using that glossy white cardstock, and then I've got some holographic cardstock. And what I like to do is when I'm gluing onto this kind of shiny surface, I want to make sure I weigh it down with my stamp block so that it holds it in place and it doesn't slippy slidey. But before it's fully dry, if I've got any glue that's seeped out, I take a dry microfiber cloth and I just rub those edges and it comes straight off, and then that shiny, gorgeous holographic cardstock isn't smeared. It isn't tainted by the glue. It looks great. Now to finish each of my cards off, I'm using various gems. These ones are from Lena Craft on AliExpress. And I'm just going to stick down some white glue, and when this glue dries, it dries completely clear. So it does look a bit foggy when I share with you all my kind of card samples, but within sort of 2 hours, it'll be completely clear and all you'll see is the gems. So on the left is when I used that gorgeous sort of glossy white cardstock. On the right, I just used the plain vanilla cardstock and did the exact same thing, but this time I used round domed sort of water droplet ones. Again, those will be clear, but right now you can see the glue. Now, if you don't have square cards or don't want to make square cards, you can do it with a standard size card base as well. And take your circle dies and just kind of pop it off the edge. For this one, I used a more sort of snowflake embossing folder from Lisa Horton Crafts. And this was a slimline one, so I did make it go down the middle of my card as it wouldn't fit the whole entire standard card base. And then for this one, this is if you have not got circle dies in your stash and all you can do is cut a square piece or a rectangular piece of cardstock. This will work perfect for you. It's a great technique that works no matter what you've got in your stash. and you can adapt it to whatever stamps and dies you've got, or if you don't have dies, obviously just your paper trimmer works just fine. So I hope you had a great time with me tonight. I'm sorry I kind of rushed through it. It was such a fun time making these crafts. I'm so happy I'm getting back into crafting. It's been a little while since I've been at my desk having a great time. And as a quick reminder, don't forget there's the free summit coming up in next weekend with a whole bunch of amazing creative card makers. And I am there joining them, doing a fun tutorial for you. Now, this is a free summit as long as you join on that weekend. You can purchase tickets as well. The links will all be there if you follow the link down below in my description box. It will take you, if you want to watch it all now, you can join in now and you get loads of bonuses, extra freebies, and yeah, just a whole bunch of extra content if you buy their little bundle. The bundle is cheapest before the actual summit starts. So if you want to get the bundle, buy it now. Otherwise, you may have to pay more if you decide and change your mind later on. But it is free, and I have had questions asking if it is on YouTube. No, it is not on YouTube. You need to follow the link in my description box, and that will be where the summit is. You watch it all live from that website, not on YouTube. Okay, hope you have a fantastic weekend. See you soon. Take care. Bye for now.